Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where today we're talking Ford GT. Believe it or not, it has now been 6 months since the last time I drove this car more than about 5 miles away from the storage here with the Shmeemobiles. In fact, it was back in Chicago in the USA in early November last year. Then of course it did come home. I drove it about 40 miles from Stansted Airport when it came off the plane back here to the garage. But since then, I think it's only been out for the 10th anniversary photo shoot with all the cars, and then taking it to Topaz to pick up the rather spectacular Goodwill car cover. Well, clearly for the time being we need to get the covers off the car, get it on out. I need to head out for something today and then enjoy driving. I could have taken the G63 or the Supra, but it's a lovely day. I haven't driven the Ford GT for ages. Let's take it for a drive and go enjoy it. I am still absolutely loving the Goodwill car cover, looking exactly like the car that's underneath it, made from merino wool by Goodwill out in Italy and delivered through Topaz. Of course, we've got the red and gold, we've got the headlight shapes, the vents. It just looks so much fun on the GT, but I'll get that pulled back in just a second. Today, I would also like to talk about some of the future plans for the car. I had mentioned before that at about this time, I would have currently been off on a road trip with it and with some of the other Shmeemobiles. We would have gone to the Nürburgring, to the Netherlands, Belgium, France, and even taking this car down to Morocco. Sadly, of course, those plans got shelved for much bigger reasons, as we've discussed. Today, though, I will enjoy taking it out for a little drive. I'll just pull up the cover a little bit. I will need both hands to do this off camera in just a moment, but the car is here. Let's be careful of the number plate at the front. Ready and set, looking beautiful, of course, clean, plugged into the trickle charger just around this side at the moment. We've got the C-Tech chargers, the Ford one and the Golf one for the Heritage RS, so I'll get that all tidied up. And a few people have mentioned actually that yes, I do have a cover for a cover. That is because this thing is so lovely. I actually don't want it to get super dusty or anything like that, which of course can happen if you leave it for a long period of time. Those are just cheap over covers. And when I do have my own garage, my own cave, my own man cave, however we're going to call it, I do want to obviously just have that without the horrible silver ones over the top. It just adds a little bit more anonymity to it as well, which I kind of like a little bit in the storage. So, the Ford GT. Let me get this all sorted up, then let's get it fired into life and take it on out. The other cars are back under covers, the GT is unplugged, so that means it is time. Let's come round and get this fired back into life. Of course, the roar of the Akrapovic Sports Titanium exhaust that I installed while the car was out in the USA, it feels like a very long time ago now that I was driving this car in the likes of New York, Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Las Vegas, having an amazing time with it. Now, when you unlock the car, listen to this. It makes that thunderous click. I really, really like that sound. You can actually just do it keyless. In fact, if you didn't know this, the way you can lock it is you just press on there. How cool is that? And then it automatically unlocks when you've got the key in your pocket. So let me climb on board then. Left-hand drive. All Ford GTs, they're left-hand drive. They didn't make them right. We've got the button here just to wake it up. But let's take a listen then to the startup of this car. Oh, good. I think people don't give the Ford GT the credit that it deserves for the sound of this when the V6 comes into life. So, let's get it on out then and get this drive underway. It is a beautiful day. The sky is blue, and of course, taking this out, I'm going to head towards some countryside roads to actually open it up a little bit and have some fun. But like I said, I haven't really driven it for 6 months. Now, that's not strictly true, because I did take it out to go to Topaz, to go around town a little bit, but I don't think driving at 30 or 40 miles per hour like this really counts. It would be the first time that it's gone over 40 miles per hour since, well, like I said, driving it in on the motorways, coming back from Stansted Airport, just out to the northeast of London, back towards the garage, back in November. Of course, very different weather to what we have right now. So it's going to be a bit of a cruise to get away from London out into the countryside towards where I'm heading today, where I've got some important stuff that I need to get done in person. But basically, yeah, back in the Ford GT, the ultimate spaceship, which is exactly what I said the last time I drove it. Getting back in this thing is so truly alien from anything else. Just being sat, of course, left-hand drive, but quite centrally in the car, the view in the door mirrors that you have through the buttresses at the back, this thing just, I mean, it's a spaceship. It's a spaceship for the road in every possible sense. Anyway, it's a fair bit of journey to go. This is all average speed check. It's very boring, but we'll get out of town, get somewhere fun, and enjoy driving this car. This is more like it. Some beautiful British countryside. Sometimes I forget quite how nice the roads, and in particular the scenery around here can be. We're out towards the west of England. Of course, if you go into Wales or up into Scotland, it gets even better. But this car, I'm not going to lie, is quite big for these kind of roads. The thing that I've noticed on today's drive though, and I'm sure it helps big time with the sunshine, is quite how many people just stop in their tracks and their gaze is locked onto this car as it goes by. Case in point just there. I think it stands out and punches well above even its performance limit in terms of its appearance. It's up there with the hypercars. When you see this thing on the road, it must just look so unbelievably different, like a Koenigsegg or a Pagani. I think most people don't necessarily know what it is, but driving around here, it is just amazing. I absolutely love this thing. It's so much fun, and I mean, yes, okay, it's more at home out on a racetrack where you can actually push it properly hard than it is here on these very tight and now 30-mile-per-hour twisty village lanes. But overall, the experience of this thing, I mean, it's second to none. And you build up these memories, and with this car, I mean, you've seen the videos, taking it around racetracks in all sorts of different places, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, driven it around a lap of the Monaco Grand Prix track, obviously over to the USA on Road Atlanta, the whole trip across America. I even took this car, you might remember, to Sardinia for a day, an overnight ferry to Sardinia to join the Pagani Owners Club, and then the same day, an overnight ferry back again, or I guess at least the next night. That was the kind of adventure that means that you really kind of gel and get to know the car and drive it on some unbelievable roads. The roads there in Sardinia, just breathtaking. But like I said, I do sometimes forget how nice they can actually be back here at home. You just need to get out of the villages and back onto some more properly open countryside roads. But this is an absolute delight. I mean, I know I haven't driven the car much, and I know lots of my cars currently haven't been driven much over winter. I mean, I never normally drive them so much because I spend a lot more time away in the Middle East, out in the USA, that kind of thing. But now I'm back, and obviously the plans have had to be delayed that were intended for the last month or two. But just the opportunity to have it out, to enjoy it a little bit. And one thing about the car, and I'm sure you're seeing this right now, when you're just cruising at 30-40 miles an hour, this thing is really docile. I'm in sport mode, so I'm not in the comfort suspension that you can set should you wish. But it's not, you know, it's not unpleasant to drive at all, other than being quite small inside the cabin. When we do get out though, and actually let's just slow it down, to first gear for a little bit of fun, that's when you can do this. It's silly, yes, I went into the red line, but it just takes off so monumentally quickly, and you do want to short shift. When you're driving in cars this powerful, you want to short shift to give you the grip, but also because your senses aren't quite catching up with what's happening. You know, the car is just taking off into another dimension, and this thing is really quick. It's easy to not give it the credit that it deserves, but it's really, really fast. I think a lot of people think, oh, V6, nothing, you know, that's not special, that's not going to be quick, but it's pretty light and it's a lot of power, and that combination is always going to be a win in terms of a lot of performance. I mean, I'm enjoying this a lot, as you can tell. I'm enjoying it an awful lot. You do have to get used to the indicators in terms of what's a quick blink and what is holding them on. There we go. I just think everybody who must see it must be like, what is that car? So silly, but so much fun. I mean, just in second gear, quick little... You get the flutter from behind of the turbo noise as well. And one thing, I guess, that probably doesn't quite carry across if I explain this normally, is that obviously the further you press the throttle pedal, the more power delivery you get. In the case of this, I would say it's exaggerated much more than other cars. I mean, if I'm comparing to 488, 720Ss, the Senna, LaFerrari, you know, whatever else it might be, in this car, when your foot is right down to the floor, there's a lot more power than when you're halfway down to the floor. Just in terms of the amount of delivery that it gives you. And when you lift off, you get that kind of, I don't know how to describe the noise, it's an unusual sound that it makes. Yeah. This is fun. This is a beautiful day, and I mean, it's perfect, absolutely perfect. There's just so much that connects together about this car. Obviously the history of it, and we've talked so much about this before, but the new GT launched to come out on the 50th anniversary of Ford's famous 1-2-3 win, the first of 4 consecutive wins at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and this car is the closest you get in a current road car to a race car feel. And I know the Senna is faster, it's noisier, it's more dramatic, but this feels more like race car. It is the race car with a number plate. In terms of the back, the steering only comes to life when you're driving it harder. The noises only come to life when you're towards the top end. because I look out of the glass as well. Everything about this car is so special to me. It's hard to really put that into words, but here, I mean, when you start to get more on it, it feels so connected. The steering, small inputs and movements, and of course a few small oddities about the car. Obviously we've talked before as well in the USA about how it does not exactly have the biggest fuel tank. You run out of fuel quite quickly because of course 656 horsepower, only about 50 litres or so of fuel goes in, which means your range is limited to say the least. When you're cruising it's actually pretty efficient, obviously powerful engine, not having to work hard. But when you're driving on these kind of roads, well, it's not going to be lasting all that long. Not a problem today though. This is about having fun and on these roads. Just look at this. Yes, it's firm. Yes, it's bumpy. Oh, this is heavenly. This is absolutely heavenly. This is what I love about cars. Wow. Oh, so much fun, and into a village. Peacefully does it then. Look at this place, all these tight twisty roads, perfect for enjoying. I've just got a massive beam across my face, a massive beam, because this is heavenly. I mean, it's such a special car. Like I said, I've not driven it, well, like this, in an exciting fashion, enjoying it as a sports car for literally 6 months. And I missed it. I've definitely missed it. Well, I'm a bit sad obviously that I haven't had the opportunities planned in recent months, but it is what it is, and that will be possible before too long from now. It takes off so quickly. It's been a while since I've seen this thing out in the sunshine. The colour is so nice still. I'm very pleased with my choices of this. Of course, it has splattered a few bugs around the front with a nice spirited drive, but the GT just looks so good. Of course, this isn't even down in track mode when it drops another 2 inches, 5 centimetres or so. But yeah, this car, I am seriously impressed by it still. Very lucky to own and be able to use one of these, and definitely a permanent member of the garage, that's for sure. I think my favourite of the Shmeemobiles. Back on the road, and I tell you what, when I do come out to the countryside, I do question myself why I choose to live in the centre of London, because these kind of roads are just a different level of fun for cars like this. In the city, it's 30 miles per hour, there's always traffic, you can't do anything or enjoy driving. Out here though, I mean, this is just lovely, beautiful locations, spectacular scenery, and the Ford GT to enjoy. And I know I'm rabbiting on about it a lot, but I really do enjoy driving this car. It's so quick. The kick in the back, the endless feel of the power being delivered, so much torque that it just goes on and on and on. This is... that this road just bends through the countryside. It is perfect. Smooth tarmac, that's where this car really comes into a different level. It's obviously created to be at home on a racetrack. Shifts are so fast. Yes, they're not the most aggressive in the world. Not obviously in track mode. Track mode dropping the car down is not suited to driving on the public highways. This though, just a small little spurt of power between the corners. That symphony from behind. I think probably it doesn't come across, because it's not the loudest thing in the world, as being quite as ferocious as it is. So much of that comes through the sound, and yes, I've got Android Auto, so messages flash up on the screen. Oh, this is awesome. This car, it turns so well. And into a slower section. Mega. One thing that I'm far too familiar with about about this car that happens all too often is a little bit of range anxiety. Because the tank is so small, I kind of let it run down quite close to empty too often, and at the moment I have 5 miles to empty, and the next fuel station is in 2.5 miles time. That is not good. That is not good for the kind of stress levels when you're out driving. So very much in normal mode, having a gentle cruise at the moment to get to the first fuel station, because, well, this is not an ideal scenario. I should get there, we should be completely fine, but it's still a little nerve-wracking nonetheless, and it happens way too often. Because you just go to a countryside road, enjoy driving for a few miles, and all of a sudden you have no fuel left. It makes no sense for the World Endurance Championship car, the race car for long distance races, except it has no fuel tank. I wonder what the fuel tank on the race car is. But yeah, 1.8 miles to go, still showing 5 miles, downhill, let it roll. Yeah, not ideal, but part and parcel of the ownership experience. I've never run out of fuel, it's never got that low, but it has got dangerously close. You might remember back on Fuel Run with my friend Jason going up the West Coast Highway 1, Pacific Coast Highway. Yes, I think we had it down to literally 0, which was very uncomfortable, but no alternatives because there was nothing else around there. Anyway, there's a line of cars behind me at the speed limit. I'm sorry guys, I need to take it easy so I don't run out of fuel. Well, I managed to get some fuel in the car and didn't run out this time, and since then I've actually driven all the way back home with one more fuel stop just before arriving to make sure the car is parked up with a full tank, because I don't know when I'm going to be driving it next. Now the theory behind that, by the way, is that it's good to leave cars with a full tank if it's going to be a while before you drive them again, for 2 reasons. Number 1, if you have any air in the tank, the fuel can dissolve in it, so it's better basically to leave it full. The second is one of convenience. It's much more pleasant to come back to the car and not have to make your first stop back at a petrol station, to just be able to take it out and drive, so I like to do that wherever I can. Now let's have a run through of some of the plans ahead. And I've said many times that the Ford GT is a permanent schmeemobile. This car is so truly special to me, both in my own memories and experiences with it, but also as a car. It is one of the most, if not the most stunning looking supercars of this current time. I think it's a magnificent thing. Of course, it will need to be making a trip to a car wash at some point. There are quite a few bugs around the front of this that I think we can say have been Ford GT'd. Some of you might remember that reference with the McLaren, with the 675 LT way back, but you do actually need to make sure that you get the bugs off the PPF. If you leave these on for too long, they can actually leave a permanent mark. It's better to get rid of them. Of course, you can just replace the paint protection film over the top, but if it were outside in the sunshine, it would be a much bigger problem. In here, it's probably not going to be. Of course, I'll plug it back into the trickle charger as well in a second and get it covered back up. But as always, a great time driving this car. I had to make the trip today for various work things, but an opportunity to take this out and to drive it and stretch the legs of it is always very welcome, particularly after quite so long. So I would love to take it back to the Nürburgring, off to some other places, who even knows, but it will take some planning, and of course, we don't know what the situation is going to be. Obviously, I had this big trip planned with this car and 5 others going around Northern Europe, and then taking this one and a few others down to Morocco. Alas, that wasn't to be. But I'd also like to take the AMG GTR Pro to the Nürburgring, to take the SLS Black Series to the Nürburgring, to take the red Focus RS, now that it's got its new brakes, over to the Nürburgring. And, well, I can't drive them all, so this is a nice conundrum to have. Hopefully there'll be lots of trips at some point before too long. I'm not sure what it's going to mean for the Ford GT. Time will tell, but any opportunity to drive it is a special one. I think if I drove this car regularly, I would lose that feeling of excitement from it. You get familiar with this kind of thing all too quickly, but when you drive them infrequently, you remember quite how incredible it is. So today, Ford GT outing, I've loved it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I appreciate your support as always, but that is it for this time, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!